Hey there, and thank you for joining us on Weather Out West on this Friday, January 30th. I'm meteorologist Ashley Ruiz, and here's what we're tracking for you today. More rain is headed to the Pacific Northwest over the weekend. We're heading to Seattle and Portland for the latest. And scientists studying climate change by measuring cow burps. Why researchers say what cows eat could make a big difference. That's coming up. And later on, she grew up looking at stars. Now she's headed toward them. A Western Washington woman's incredible path to becoming a NASA astronaut. And once again, we want to thank you for joining us on Weather Out West on this Friday. If you haven't joined us before, this is an hour-long show where we tell you what's happening weather-wise across 8 cities in the western United States. And today we're going to begin in Washington because Washington mountain passes have finally gotten some snow, but experts say it's still not enough to erase the deficit that built up earlier in the season. In fact, only a small number of mountain areas across the western United States are near average in terms of their snowpack right now. Snowpack levels across the Cascades have been running well below normal all winter, but the tides are starting to turn a little bit. The Cascades are finally getting some much needed snow, at least as of a couple of days ago, and that's just for now. King 5's Alex McClune reports from Snoqualmie Pass.
Rain turned to snow as we were driving up I-90 from Seattle here to Snoqualmie Pass. This is the wet kind of snow you can make a snowball out of. This is the stuff we desperately need. In Washington, snowpack levels across the Cascades have been running well below normal this winter. Snow levels are about as low as they'll be right now, allowing snow to fall at pass level. But this is also when snow totals are at their highest before warmer and drier weather moves in later this weekend. Experts say it has not been enough to erase the deficit built earlier this season. In Oregon, a hydrologist there says statewide snowpack in Oregon is at its second lowest level on record, dating back to 1981, highlighting how widespread this snowpack problem is across the Pacific Northwest.
As we go further into the season, what we can say now is that we're more reliant on larger storm systems to bring more significant snow accumulation.
Only a small number of mountain areas across the western U.S. are near average snowpack right now. Road conditions, little snow covered right now. We're seeing plows make passes up here. That's what's happening up here at Snoqualmie Pass. Alex McClune, King 5 News.
And it really was a much welcome sight for all of that snow to fall at the passes. Unfortunately, the snow levels are going to climb over the weekend, which means little to no snow is expected at Snoqualmie Pass. In today's forecast, I'm tracking the warm rain moving through western Washington and some unusually warm weather into next week. Happy Friday from Seattle, Washington. I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz with a look at your weekend forecast. It is going to be wet at times, but we're drying out in the back half of our Saturday, but we turn wetter again Sunday. Today we have rain spreading over the area and we'll have some gusty winds. But next week we're drying out once again as we get some strong ridging building over the area. And so we're going to dry out. Temperatures are going to go way up. But today and into the afternoon, we're going to have gusty winds coming out of the south and southeast, possibly 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts in our typical windy spots closer to the inlet, the islands, as well as the coast. But winds will start to die down later this afternoon, evening. With the incoming ridge that it's actually going to start to build over the region Saturday, just ever so slightly, before it flattens once we head into Sunday, and that's going to send one wave of rain through the area. A front's going to move in, but then we get into early next week, and that ridge is going to take hold of our weather pattern, and it's going to dry us out, but our temperatures are going to soar about 5 to 15 degrees potentially above normal of where we should be this time of year. And it's been unusually warm, not just this month, but from November 1st through January 31st, we typically get 39 days at and above 50 degrees. So far, we've had 53, and so by the end of the month, we're actually going to be tied at 55 days at and above 50 degrees, and that's going to be basically going down the record books because of how warm it's been. But again, that's November 1st through January 31st. So we still have 2 days to go, and guess what? Both days will be at and above 50 degrees, well into the 50s on Saturday. And so again, that ties that previous record for second at 55 days at and above 50. Into next week, we can keep adding up those 50-degree days, especially by the middle half of next week, all thanks to that ridge. We're waking up to wet conditions out there, not so much some mountain snow. In fact, our snow levels are coming way up. This is one incoming system, and then we'll have another system rolling in into Sunday. But today we'll have steady rain spreading over the area except for the rain shadow, and this is going to taper off to scattered showers into the afternoon. So midday Friday, and then until we get the snow levels coming above 6 to 7,000 feet, we could have a rain and snow mix at Stevens Pass, but then it turns to all rain. Into Friday afternoon, scattered showers, and then we'll start to dry out, but then one wave of showers will move in Saturday morning, essentially from southwest to northeast. This is associated with a warm front, but then that ridge builds temporarily, and then it flattens again. That's going to allow our next front to move in overnight Saturday and into Sunday. We'll get a couple of waves of rain, but the best chance for some steady rain will be Sunday morning through about midday or so, and that will taper off to scattered showers. Through Sunday night, we could pick up an additional ½ of an inch up to maybe 1.25 inches for Puget Sound. The highest totals near the coast, and then up in the mountains, we'll get up to about 1 inch. But the thing is, our snow levels come way up to about 6 to 7,000 feet, dropping into Sunday and into Monday, Sunday night and into Monday to about 4,000 feet. So that's when we're going to have the next best chance to get some falling and accumulating snow. And our snowpack is really suffering, generally less than 50% of where we should be this time of year for much of the Cascades in Washington. And through Sunday night, not expecting much at all, except maybe the northern Cascades. But once again, our temperatures are soaring into next week around 60 degrees. Meanwhile, in Oregon, it was a dry start to Friday, but rain will move into the Rose City later in the day. Saturday is going to be the dry day before we start to see more rain moving in on Sunday. Here's Portland's Rod Hill with more details.
Happy Friday from the Rose City. Not a bad forecast today. Another day of tracking one of what has been a series of weak systems this week, bringing us again some rain. Yesterday's, to my eyes, overproduced. We had 38/100ths of an inch of rain that fell in Portland, and it just kind of kept going more so than I thought. So this one is giving us some solid rain along the coast to start. We'll bring some rain into Portland before noon, and then the scattered shower threat will linger. There's actually a dry break in between systems. That's our really nice Saturday that we expect. More on that coming up. And then the final of this series of weak fronts is the curl you see right here. That will bring us some more rain starting first thing early on Sunday morning. All right, here's the way Futurecast shows it. A little wave of rain coming into Portland before noon, and that breaks into scattered showers. Modeling basically gives us generally less than 1/10 of an inch of rain. Here's our dry Saturday. This is going to be fantastic. Partly sunny skies. It's still overall a south wind flow, and we've been in the mid-50s away from the cooling of the east winds coming out of the gorge. So tomorrow we think we bump that up and perhaps hit 60. The record in Portland for Saturday is 62. So we could be right there. We're eyeing that. Then you just saw the rain picking up overnight into early Sunday morning, and then that breaks into scattered showers during the day Sunday. This does show a little instability. You see some heavier showers in the bright colors on Sunday. Weather models show, again, on average, they're giving Portland less than 1/10 of an inch of rain. This is actually one of the wetter models. This is just today. and it shows about 1/4 inch of rain coming into the coast. That's what will fall mainly this morning with that initial surge before that breaks into scattered showers. Overall, by the way, this will be just a wet day at pass level and a wet weekend. Tomorrow's dry, but Sunday it looks like it's primarily going to be wet at Cascade Pass level as well, as the snow levels are relatively high. That is kind of a cool look at the darker clouds moving over the summit of Mount Hood, seen from our Timberline camera. It's been about 37 degrees up there at 6,000 feet this morning. And awaiting the raindrops, here's our state capitol with the cloudy skies, and that's the way Portland has looked. You can see not a ripple in the water along the Willamette. Again, light winds outside of the Columbia River Gorge, where coming into the East Multnomah County, we've had winds about 20, 25, 30 mile per hour gusts this morning. All right, so today, 50s on the west side. The initial surge of rain coming in this morning to the coast, breaking into scattered showers. Could be some traceable amounts of moisture east of the Cascades, but overall, I think it's just a cloudy day in central Oregon. Bend 54, again, Cascade passes will be dry or rain shower activity, so traveling should not be an issue. Then you've got thinning clouds out east with temperatures in the 40s. Here's our 7-day, and of course this gets you into the weekend. 53 today, if we make it. Again, the last couple of days, the cooling impact of the east wind has kept Portland shy of 50, so we'll see. 55 down in Salem. 60 for a high tomorrow, partly sunny. What a great day that's going to be. Would be the warmest since mid-December for us. And then scattered showers on Sunday, 51. Monday still looks to kick off a stretch of dry weather. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Weather modeling is much warmer than what I am showing here in this graphic. I just think until we get closer, I'm giving us a chance to have cold, frosty mornings. If that doesn't happen, then we would be warmer than the low 50s that I show. That's your forecast for now as we're almost ready to say goodbye to January.
And coming up after the break, we're staying in the Northwest, but this time interior Northwest to check in with Spokane and Boise. Welcome back to Weather Out West. Let's take you to Spokane, Washington, where Thomas Patrick is tracking showers, and he'll tell us if the mountains can expect any snow.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington. It finally feels like we've arrived in the warmer weather pattern. Just took all week to get here as we've gone from 30 degrees back on Monday to highs in the mid and upper 40s today. Honestly, today was the first morning where temperatures were way above freezing, so it definitely felt much different overall. But I am going to start with some mountain talk here. And while we've gotten about a fresh inch or two of snow, even on our mountaintops, like at Silver Mountain, unfortunately, two things. One, it's not enough to really make a big difference in terms of the snow pack. And two, the warmer weather pattern might actually just melt that 1 or 2 inches that we just got, unfortunately. So the skiing this weekend still going to feel like that spring late season skiing. Our snowpack still running at only 50 to 60% of normal for the area mountains, both in North Idaho and northern Washington. Wish we could add more snow, but again, the weather pattern just a little bit too warm for that. As for precipitation in total, Spokane got about 1/10 of an inch of rain from the nighttime hours. Going to be a little bit more tame for the remainder of the morning before the next wave arrives. It's over Seattle at the moment. That arrives in Spokane at about 3 to 6 o'clock for this afternoon and evening. So another just good soaking of rain, though temperatures continue to warm and warm, with today being well into the mid to upper 40s. The weekend ahead looks fairly dry. There might be the stray shower here or there, but nothing to worry about or really change any outdoor plans over. So instead, the main weather story is just how warm it is to finish January and enter February. The next 7 days, all riding about 10 to 15 degrees above normal. Coolest day Sunday at 45. Warmest days will be Wednesday, Thursday next week, where 50s return to the forecast in Spokane for quite some time. 50s is uncommon in the wintertime, so to see that in the forecast is actually quite significant overall. If you're going to be heading out to the skate ribbon today for a little bit of some skating, there's some free skating lessons there. You will be competing with a bit of rain and milder temperatures. Maybe not ideal for skating, but the professionals out there are plenty good. And yeah, you will be able to skate in the rain. It is a well-maintained skate ribbon overall. High temperature is very warm though. Again, 47 is about 10 degrees above average for the season. We'll stay in the mid 40s through the weekend. Weather impacts would include some morning fog on Saturday due to the rain that we're getting today. And yes, there's a small chance of showers on Sunday, but no better than about 20% overall. Really looks like today is by far our best chance to get more rain in the afternoon. Saturday will be quiet. Sunday, 20% chance of rain. Not much, but not nothing. So if anybody gets rained on, it's a pretty minor chance. Again, it's the temperature trend that is the most significant thing here. Mid 40s today and through the weekend, and then climbing to about 50 degrees for early next week. So a very warm start to February. As you saw, the snowpack, not exactly enjoying it at the mountain level, but we should be able to get outdoors and enjoy some warmth this weekend.
All is quiet on the weather front in Boise, Idaho, though an inversion will lead to more foggy and cloudy mornings heading into next week. Let's check in with Hector Mendoza with much more.
Well, if you're looking at this image and you're thinking to yourself, hey, it looks almost kind of like yesterday, that's exactly right. As Mother Nature is running it back like the 0-1 Lakers, we'll continue with those clouds. Some patchy fog here through the rest of this morning, and that's possible again here for tomorrow, as Mother Nature is expecting to stay consistent in through this weekend. And these are going to be some of the views. This was early on here Friday morning at around 9 o'clock as we're looking here at the Skycam 7 camera with some of those hazy and even foggy conditions. We are seeing some blue skies there through some of the haze, but a lot of that is really going to get covered up with some of the clouds that we're expecting for this afternoon. Might see another shot of some sunshine here as we'll see a couple of rays come through those clouds as we head towards this afternoon. But we are going to see a lot of those clouds just kind of come and go here through Saturday and Sunday. All of this due to this ridge of high pressure right here that's going to dominate our weather pattern for a good while, as we're not anticipating much precipitation, at least as we're looking off into the next week or so, as we are going to see some of this moisture just continue to get pushed further north, and that's what's going to keep us dry here through most of southwest Idaho. Some of the west central mountain spots could see some very light flurries here by the end of Friday, but heading in through the weekend, dry conditions and lots of sunshine. So as we look at the 7-day forecast for Twin Falls, expecting it to be the warmest place here across southwest Idaho into the low 50s as we look on into Sunday. A little bit more sunshine here through the beginning portion of Saturday. Then after that, those clouds will start to increase. We'll continue to see a little bit more of that sunshine beginning the following week. But with the inversion, and then as you start to see those clouds part way to bring in some of that sunshine, we are anticipating some of those hazier conditions. So air quality is going to be something else that we're going to focus on as we continue through the middle of next week. And then temperatures will continue into those low 50s with morning lows into the upper 20s. Now, as we look at the 7-day forecast here for Boise, we are seeing that similar conditions are going to come along here for the Treasure Valley. Temperatures aren't really going to change too much day to day, but those clouds will stick around here. The potential for some fog will continue here Saturday morning with increasing clouds through the afternoon. Then we're going to see a little bit more of some of this inversion start to scour out just a bit, as we do have a weak system that comes in that doesn't necessarily bring us any sort of rain or snow across the valleys or even in the mountains. What it is going to bring is some of those clouds and some winds that will help clear out some of those hazier conditions, but that will be brief. As we head into Monday, we are going to see this redevelop. The ridge continue to dominate here and through the end of the week, and that's why we're expecting a little bit more of that sunshine. Temperatures will also gradually start to warm up as we return into those low 50s. Morning temperatures will continue right below or right at that freezing mark here and through the next couple of mornings. And like I mentioned with some of the mountain spots, we are going to see a little bit more sunshine to start off Saturday, and the winter carnival here is going to start as we look at McCall. Has already started here today. We'll continue in through this weekend, but expect a little bit more of that sunny condition there for Saturday. A little bit more of those clouds increase through Sunday, and then we're expecting the sunshine to return there for Monday. And here's a look at the Sun Valley here through the central mountains, as we're going to see much warmer temperatures, expecting to get into those upper 40s. All of this due to that ridge that's bringing in the inversion. And of course, as we head towards Saturday, we see this ridge flatten out just a little bit more, and then it starts to redevelop here as we get in through Tuesday, Wednesday, and heading into Thursday.
From Sammamish to the stars, meet the woman chosen for NASA's next astronaut class and how her childhood dream is turning into a mission to the moon. A Sammamish, Washington woman is reaching for the stars. Lauren Edgar is just one of 10 people chosen for NASA's newest astronaut class. It's all a part of the agency's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon and establish a sustained presence there in preparations for future Mars missions. Before this, Edgar was part of the Artemis 3 geology team, helping define some of the goals for future exploration of the moon. King 5's Leah Pizzetti spoke with her about how she fell in love with space.
Joining me now is Lauren Edgar, a Washington local from Sammamish and one of the 10 people selected in NASA's newest class of astronauts. Lauren, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Glad to hear everything you have to share. Let's start with the goal of getting to the moon. It's an ambitious one that NASA has set, establishing a presence on the moon in the next few years. What are you contributing to that project as we move forward?
Sure. So I might back up to my time actually before being selected as an astronaut. I was contributing to the Artemis 3 science team. So I was the deputy principal investigator for the geology team and helping to define some of the surface exploration goals and stations and the types of observations that astronauts might someday make on the moon. But then I was selected as an astronaut, and so now I'm going through 2 years of training before being eligible to be assigned to a mission. But in that time and in my the course of my NASA career after this, I hope to be able to continue to contribute to lunar exploration and then setting our sights on Mars as well.
That's incredible. And let's go back to your background of geology. That's often thought of as an Earth-based science. How are we applying those Earth skills to outer space exploration?
Yeah, so the field of planetary geology means that we get to understand the geology of other planets like the moon and Mars. And a lot of what we do in geology is go to field sites here on Earth to better understand what we're seeing on other planets. And so my background, I was able to do a lot of field work to start to understand some of those processes, think through what would be the best samples that you might want to acquire to bring back and enable all of those studies here on Earth. So this is a really exciting time in the field of geology and planetary geology, especially with our sites on the moon and Mars.
That's incredible. And you right now are in a years-long training process. You said you're in Houston. What does that day-to-day look like? What are some of the physical and mental training that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so I'll spend the first 2 years of my time here in Houston in training as an astronaut candidate. And in that time, we're learning everything from how to fly airplanes, practice for spacewalks, get to learn about a lot of the ISS, the space station systems. I just came from a robotics class this morning where I'm learning how to operate the robotic arm on the space station. We get some language training, some geology training. So there's a lot of different things that we get to learn about. And it's really exciting to be getting to learn so many different ways to help explore the solar system.
That's incredible. Has there been anything that has surprised you so far with this training?
Great question on surprises. I think I am just most impressed with how complex vehicles like the International Space Station are, how many different systems need to be working, how to fix things when they're not working, and to think through how we've had a continuous human presence and all of these systems working together for the last 25 years is really an engineering marvel. So I think that's probably a surprise, is just seeing how complex and intricate all of this is.
That must be fascinating. And this is an elite class of astronauts. You're one of 10. Thousands applied, just a few were chosen. I believe I read that it took you a couple tries to get here. Can you tell me about that application process and why do you think you are the one sitting here on this team right now?
Great question. So yeah, I've applied a couple of times to be an astronaut. It's a USA Jobs application process. In the previous times that I tried, never heard anything. This is the first time that I was called out for the different rounds of interviews, which was amazing to be able to meet all of these other fantastic individuals that were going through that selection process with me. And as far as what led to this ultimate selection, you'll have to ask the selection panel what happened there. But just wanted to say I am so grateful and honored to be a part of this class and standing here alongside my peers.
Yeah, and you've shared that this is a lifelong dream of yours. Can you tell me a little bit about how you fell in love with space early on?
Yeah, so I think growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I had an appreciation for the outdoors and obviously the rich aviation history that we have in the Seattle area. But it wasn't until I went to a space shuttle launch when I was in second grade and I realized there were people on board and they were leaving this planet, and it made me wonder what else is out there. And so that's really what inspired me and kind of set me on this path to pursuing space exploration and the desire to, maybe someday be an astronaut. And along the way, found this career path that I absolutely loved, getting to do geology and investigate the solar system.
That's incredible.
So I definitely credit the Northwest in instilling some of that inspiration.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you one more question. This class of astronauts is a majority women for the first time ever. I know there's still a lot of uncertainty, but there is the potential for you to be some of the people who go back to the moon for the first time in 50 years. That's historic in itself, but of course, because we have a lot of women who could be the first women on the moon, where's your headspace with that history that's potentially in the making?
I just think it's so exciting to be here, to be a part of this class. Each and every one of the individuals that's part of this class is a phenomenal human being that I would love to see on the moon someday, love to see in low Earth orbit, making great observations of the Earth and, contributing to, future exploration to Mars. So it is just a huge honor to be here and look forward to everything to come.
Yeah, we know Neil Armstrong's famous first words, one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Have you thought about what your words would be if that was you?
I have not thought about that yet, but maybe that's a bit down the line. We'll think about it.
Well, we have time. Well, we cannot wait to see how far you explore. Lauren Edgar, one of the newest astronauts with NASA. Thank you so much for your time today. We cannot wait to see what happens through the next couple of years.
Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it.
Welcome back to Weather Out West on this Friday, January 30th. Let's take you to Northern California, where they're experiencing mostly dry and foggy conditions. And along the coast, beachgoers should watch for sneaker waves and strong rip currents near the Bay Area. Sacramento's Monica Woods is breaking it all down for you in today's forecast.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods, heading into the end of our work and school week, and we have some changes as well as some updates to tell you about Northern and Central California. We continue to see that strong rip current, sneaker waves along the coast. Fog is back for the valley, warming in the foothills, and we've got our second snow survey of the year happening in California on Friday. Good news came out from the drought monitor for the third consecutive week. We have no drought representation in the state of California. This is a situation that hasn't happened since the year 2000. That is all despite the fact that we're going to end January on a dry note. We did pick up just a little bit of precipitation midweek, but that wasn't enough to kind of bring us up to where we should be for the wettest month of the year, at least on average. Now, February follows as the second wettest month, but it does look like it's shaping up to be a dry start to February. All that being said, end of February into March can certainly make huge gains in the water year. Our reservoir is still looking so good, though, so we can hit this dry spell here, and things are still banked as we head into the drier part of our year in the summer. We're in that likely warmer and likely drier foothold here in Northern and Central California, at least until about the middle of the month. But I did want to give some perspective on this. We've been talking so much about the eastern half of the country, the amount of snow, which has been unusual to see in such a short period of time. Snow is typical, but as far south as what they've been seeing, it certainly has made its impact. But when you look at the sheer snow depth, we're saying it's on average about 2 to 10 plus inches of snow. Now compare that to one of the highlights and bright spots in the west is actually the Sierra, because of those big storms that we had in November, December, and early January. So our base the elevation snow is about 5 to 10 inches, but when you look at the peaks, we're still sitting on about 40 to 50 inches of snow. We're only just under 60% of average for the statewide snowpack. We certainly could do some more, but we're going to hit this dry spell like I showed you in early February. The key player here is going to be a weather system moving in off the coast. Lots of cloud cover to take us through the weekend forecast, but this is also going to be a disruptive pattern because we're going to be dealing with some high tides and some big swells coming in from off the coast. So that's what's going to give us some of the more dangerous conditions for coastal communities, especially in the San Francisco Bay Area Coastal flood advisory in effect until Sunday at noon, and then a little bit closer to the coast, we still have that beach hazard statement for rip current as well as those sneaker waves, and that will continue through Monday. Highs in the meantime, 50s for the Sierra for our Friday, 60s down low for the foothills. We're in the 50s and 60s throughout the central Sierra with 60s throughout the Central Valley. Along the central coast, we're at 82 for San Luis Obispo. That just shows the strength of that high pressure ridge. Bay Area forecast, 50s and 60s, wrapping up this work and school week. And then for the northwest coast, again, dry, highs in the 60s for the coast and in the 60s for the north end of the valley. We'll carry 50s to near 60 into the Central Valley for the capital region near Sacramento, with a dry outlook at least for the next 5 days, and that will continue deep into our 10-day forecast. Areas of fog, but otherwise just a mix of sun and clouds. Highs unseasonably warm by the middle and end of next week.
High pressure continues to build in. That's going to bring San Diego warm and dry conditions through the weekend with offshore winds kicking in. Vanessa Paz tells us how long this weather pattern is expected to stick around for.
It's Friday and it's sunny here in San Diego, California. Good morning. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. This is what it looked like outside earlier. We had nothing but clear skies, and we'll continue with that pattern as we head into the weekend and our final days of January. So here's the deal. We have Santa Anas that have kind of taken hold over Southern California, including for us here in San Diego, and will continue to do so at least through the first half of the week. And then they'll gradually start to weaken towards the second half on Sunday, just as we kick off February, and that's going to contribute to some cooler temperatures. So here are those Santa Ana winds tracking out of the northeast later on this afternoon. Isolated gusts won't be too bad, anywhere between 30 to about 40 miles per hour. Notice that color contour kind of in that pink reddish hue, and if we look up at the key, that tracks anywhere between 30 to about 45 mile per hour gust. It looks like they'll be targeting mainly the direct slopes of the western mountains all the way towards the foothill communities. They will continue to strengthen looking ahead to tomorrow afternoon, not nearly as widespread, but still in that 25-30 mile per hour range from Ramona all the way towards about Julian. And then once we get to Sunday, that's when those offshore winds kind of subside, allowing for some of that onshore flow to develop. As we take a look at today's highs versus where we should be for this time of year, we are exceptionally warm for this season. I put an asterisk next to Vista as well as Escondido because that's where we could break a record for how hot it's going to get. I'm forecasting those areas to touch in the mid to low 80s. That's anywhere between 15 to about 16 degrees warmer than our normal. For the beaches, we will be close to 80 degrees along some of our coastal neighborhoods, including downtown as well as Chula Vista. We'll be hot in Ramona in the low 80s, high 60s in Palomar Mountain, and high 70s out in our deserts, Borrego Springs. So big picture, we have that ridging kind of taking hold, dominating much of Southern California, especially the southwest. It's going to drop diving south, allowing for subtle cooling on Sunday and Monday. But when we talk about cooling, it will be pretty short-lived. In fact, we see that drop in temperature Sunday, Monday, but then take a look at what Tuesday has in store. We see that rise in daytime highs. As we take a look at the rain chances, it's going to stay bone dry, at least for the next 7 days or so. We're not looking at any rain. We will have an influx of clouds Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, all due to that weak onshore flow returning, but then that gets taken away easily by another round of Santa Anas next week. So here's what the coastal and inland valleys look like over the next 7 days. Remember, we have that very small drop in temperatures for a short amount of time. Monday and Tuesday, we go back down to the low 70s across the inland valley floors, and then we're back in the high 80s by the time we get to the middle of next week. And then we're cooling down a little bit towards the end in the low 70s for the coastal spots by the time we get to next Friday. The mountains look like this. We have 60s on tap at least all the way through next week. Overnights are going to still remain brisk, so we always tell our viewers, anyone headed up to the mountains, to layer up, because we will plummet down to the 40s once we get to those overnight hours, especially on Sunday and Monday. Desert areas, we have this mixed bag of low 80s, high 70s all the way through Tuesday, with additional warming on Wednesday.
And coming up, climate research with a surprising twist. How scientists are studying cow burps to fight climate change. That's coming up in a few minutes. You've heard of climate research, but probably not like this. At Colorado State University, scientists are studying cows by measuring their burps. The goal is to better understand methane emissions from livestock and how cows eat could play a role in reducing greenhouse gases. Corey Reppenhagen with the 9 News weather team in Denver shows us it's early research, but it could lead to healthier animals and a smaller environmental footprint.
So these guys are here having breakfast.
The cows in these Fort Collins confines are participants in climate research.
So we measure the animals' burps. I have 2 little boys, and they think it's pretty cool that their mom is a burp scientist.
Kim Stackhouse Lawson with Colorado State University says the complex stomachs in these grazers produce the heat-trapping gas methane. It gets released into the atmosphere when they burp.
Or if you want to be fancy, eructates out of their mouth.
She says about 96% of the methane from cows gets eructated from the front of the animal and only 4% from the back end, which makes it somewhat easier and cleaner to measure.
There's one here. He's waiting to come in.
This special stall has a burp catcher, an instrument that directly measures methane in real time.
So that chime releases their treat. So they get a treat every time they come in and get their methane emissions measured.
They burp about once every minute while they eat.
There's the eructation event, 200 or 222. So he had an extended eructation event. That's a pretty good burp. Yep.
The research is still in the initial phase, but they're already learning that what the cows eat, how much they eat, and when they eat it is having a big impact on methane emissions. Stackhouse Lawson says that livestock only accounts for about 4% of global greenhouse gas emissions, but it's a small piece to an important puzzle.
So it may be that we're able to identify a solution that not only reduces methane emissions, but also makes these guys more productive and essentially healthier and happier in their environments.
In Fort Collins, I'm meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen for the 9 News Weather Impact Team.
The more you know. Let's check back in with Corey Reppenhagen and Katie LaSalle for this weekend's forecast.
Hey, it's meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen here with the 9 News Weather Impact Team in Denver, Colorado, and the forecast for the weekend as far as the weather pattern goes, it looks very similar for us, and really it probably looks pretty similar for the entire nation as we've been locked into a very similar weather pattern where yet another blast of Arctic cold air will come out to the East Coast, just missing Colorado as we stay mild and dry under another ridge of high pressure. And Colorado has been mainly riding the gradient between the high and low pressure, which has kept us mainly on the mild and dry side with a little bit of breezy conditions. But that looks like it's going to hold through the weekend. So we're going to have some very nice mild days here this weekend. And that's not great for our snowpack because we are riding something we have never seen here in Colorado, the lowest snowpack we've ever experienced. Since we put the SNOTEL network in our mountains in '87, we've never even seen anything close to this, and there is no real snow in the forecast this weekend, so these numbers will continue to plummet. We'll have a few flurries, light snow possible on Friday and Saturday. This is the snow forecast for the entire weekend, all the way till 10 o'clock on Sunday, trace to 3 up north, and trace to it 1 inch across the Front Range I-70 mountain corridor. So we are right now in the 3rd warmest winter that we've ever experienced here in Denver, and we'll start gaining because we have some 60-degree days. In fact, we could have the record number of 60-degree days in a single winter. 34 has the record. We are currently at 26 here in Denver, and it looks like by this weekend we'll move comfortably into 2nd place because there are some 60-degree days in the 7-day forecast here in Denver. Look at that nice warm weekend here. We could hit 60 on Sunday, could hit 60 on Monday. A little bit of some resemblance of winter here with a rain-snow mix possible on Tuesday and another 60 coming up in the end of next week. That is your forecast.
I'm 9 News Weather Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. We want to show you the big warm up there on the 7-day forecast from 40s today to 60s this afternoon. But the high country, it's a different story. Denver area staying dry through the weekend, but we are picking up and have some light snow. It's something. We're happy to see it here in Colorado as we continue to watch our snowpack really be impacted by very dry conditions that we've seen so far this winter. That is not stopping skiers and boarders from enjoying fresh powder. It's ski season and it's been great at times. The runs that are open, wonderful, especially as we continue to make snow, see some snow, some fresh powder with this last system. We could just use more of it. But our 24-hour snowfall totals 3 inches, Steamboat Vale, something, 2 inches near Winter Park and 1 for Breckenridge to Copper Mountain. And as we go through this weekend, no winter storms to tell you about here for the state. It's going to be just off and on a few showers that we continue to pick up out west. So our snowfall forecast, not impressive, not exactly what our ski areas need, but right now we are watching our next best chance through the afternoon. So Saturday morning through the day of picking up trace to about an inch of additional snowfall. But our Colorado snowpack still sits the worst to date on record at 58% of median. It's cold enough in the mornings where we're dropping down to the single digits and teens to continue to make snow, and highs tomorrow, it'll be warmer. So 30s and 40s expected. We will continue to see this ridge of high pressure impact the west coast and here across the state. Mild, dry, breezy at times with above seasonal normals.
And if you're looking for nothing but sunshine and warm weather, Phoenix will be the place to be this weekend, and San Diego. But highs in Phoenix will be in the 70s and 80s. Ginger Jeffries tells us how long it's going to last in today's forecast.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries with a look at your weather out west across Arizona, where we have been cruising. Very nice conditions, a little bit of off and on cloud cover, mostly sunny at times, turning partly cloudy. But those temperatures, man, we are in the zone, and it continues. I mean, I'm bringing you 70s, Phoenix. You got to like this. 77 today. We've got about 79 in Yuma. I've got 77 in Havasu. A little bit of a wind event starting to spread out from Havasu into Bullhead City. The lower Colorado River, we've been seeing these winds a couple of days. This is a very natural wind tunnel. Air has to shimmy through all those mountains and follow the path of least resistance. So once again, we've got some wind out there today. Otherwise, we've got nice clear skies in Flagstaff. And since it's a weekend, lots of folks will be headed for the slopes. And even though we're not picking up fresh powder because of the conditions overnight, yeah, great snow making conditions. So sunrise, 27 trails open, temperatures, my goodness, upper to low 40s for Snow Bowl. Again, those winds I think are going to be spreading out and impacting some portions of high country. Temperature wise, 33 to about 40 degrees, nice clear skies tomorrow, 24-inch base. And again, because it's still sub-freezing overnight and it's abundantly dry, those are the two components that they really like for man-made snow. So yeah, operations are alive and kicking. Any of the fresh stuff coming our way right now doesn't look that way. No, that jet stream is well to the north of us. We do have high pressure in charge, and so that's going to keep our skies nice and clear through tomorrow. Look for a little bit of thin cloud cover to develop by, I'd say, about Sunday, and then we continue to watch what's going on along the coastline all week long. I've been telling you that by the early to middle part of next week, it looks like that jet stream is going to sag a little bit, and we could get some moisture coming our way. Well, again, this is still well offshore. So the models are nowhere in agreement. However, it does look like we are going to get some rain maybe 10 days out, not really factoring it for the open. Instead, that warm air preceding the front looks to be keeping those numbers in the low 80s. I mean, records for us about 83 to 86 degrees. So certainly we're on the high end, and there is a little bit of a system that's going to be brushing through to the northern part of the state by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So we may see some rain in high country. But here in the valley, it doesn't look like anything's impacting us. There's just outside chance Saturday and Sunday, and then it really starts to go up a week from Monday. So the 9th of February, that's when it's looking like we may get some of that moisture coming our way. Until that time, and again, this is a good 10 plus days out. It is going to be picture perfect. We've got nice clear skies, temperatures at about 77 degrees. So we're getting rid of those clouds that we've been enjoying off and on. Even our 12 News weather watchers really really feasting on the incredible colors that these clouds provide. But now, yep, we're going to see clear skies and temperatures responding. Mid-50s tomorrow in Flagstaff. Temperatures are going to be coming down early part of next week, upper 40s to about 50 in high country. And then here in the valley, like I mentioned, we're seeing a little bit of pockets of warm air. But because one of the models has us cooling down by Wednesday, I'll keep you posted. Otherwise, just enjoy the comfort zone.
That's going to do it for us here on Weather Out West on this Friday, January 30th. I'm Ashley Ruiz, and as always, we want to thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll see you again on Monday.